The villagers gathered, whispering that the kingdom's end had come. Chickens died suddenly in their coops, and bats flew in broad daylight. Far from the chaos, in a small hut by the edge of Annie's sacred forest, Adhama sat weaving palm fronds. Her hair had grown long, her eyes, once filled with fear, now glowed with quiet strength. She had learned to listen to the whispers of the wind, to the rhythm of the forest that called her Ezenwanyi, the chosen queen. That morning, as she fetched water from the stream, she saw the reflection of a red moon faintly forming in the sky, though it was daylight. Her heart tightened. "The time has come," she whispered. Moments later, she heard drums in the distance. Not the rhythm of celebration, but of desperation. The sound of horses followed. When she turned, she saw the king's warriors dismounting before her hut. Their leader stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Daughter of the river," he said respectfully, "the gods have spoken. Umuez is dying. The prince lies near death. The king and queen beg for your return." Adhama stood still, her face unreadable. Tears welled in her eyes, not from pride or revenge, but from the sorrow of destiny fulfilled. "I warned them," she murmured, "but the proud never listen until the earth shakes beneath their feet." She looked toward the forest one last time and whispered a prayer to her ancestors. "Guide me, O spirits. Let my return heal, not destroy." As she followed the warriors back to the land that once rejected her, the red moon began to rise in the east, large, ominous, and bleeding light across the sky. The spirits whispered again, "The crown will fall, but from ashes a new queen shall rise." The road back to Umuez was long and heavy with silence. The warriors who once looked upon Adhama as a worthless slave now bowed their heads in reverence as she walked before them. Her presence carried something otherworldly. The air seemed calmer around her, the wind cooler, and the trees bent slightly as if greeting her return. The mark on her palm glowed faintly with each step, and the red moon hung above her like a divine witness. When the gates of Umuez came into view, the people gathered in disbelief. "Is that not Adhama, the slave girl who was banished?" an old woman gasped. "The one the prince loved?" But as Adhama entered the village square, a strange thing happened. Thunder rolled across the sky, and the first drop of rain fell upon her shoulder. Then another, and another. Within moments, the heavens opened, releasing torrents of rain that drenched the dry earth. Children screamed with joy, men danced, and women fell to their knees, crying, "The gods have forgiven us. The gods have returned." Even the king, watching from his palace balcony, trembled. "After 7 moons of drought," he whispered, "the rain follows her steps." By the time Adhama reached the palace gates, the entire courtyard was flooded not with fear this time, but with awe. The guards dropped their spears and knelt as she passed. Her bare feet touched the wet earth like that of a goddess walking in her domain. Inside the royal hall, the king sat waiting, his once mighty frame weakened by shame and worry. When Adhama entered, her gaze met his, not with anger, but with calm, ancient power. The king slowly rose, then to everyone's astonishment, he fell to his knees before her. "Forgive me, child of the gods," he said, voice trembling. "I was blind by pride. I saw only a slave when the heavens had sent me a queen." Adhama's eyes filled with tears. "You were a father to a kingdom, yet you forgot mercy," she said softly. but the gods are merciful even to kings who kneel." The queen, who had watched from the corner, broke into sobs. Her voice cracked as she crawled forward. "Adhama, I wronged you deeply. I let jealousy poison my heart. I cannot sleep for the faces of the servants I mistreated, for the tears you shed because of me. Please," she paused, trembling. "Please forgive me." Adhama placed her hand gently on the queen's head. "The gods measure hearts, not crowns," she said. "Today, mercy shall heal what pride destroyed." Then the king led her to the prince's chamber. Prince Abina lay pale and frail, his body covered in cold sweat, his palm glowing faintly like a dying ember. Adhama knelt beside him and took his hand. As her fingers touched his, the mark on her palm flared with brilliant light. A wave of wind rushed through the room. Lamps flickered, curtains swayed, and the prince gasped suddenly, his eyes snapping open. The glow on his hand merged with hers, and warmth spread through his body. "My love," he whispered weakly, "you came back." Tears rolled down Adhama's cheeks. "The gods sent me Obinna, not for vengeance, but for healing." Outside, the villagers saw the glow through the palace windows and began to chant, "Ezemiri, Ezemiri, Queen of the River." The name spread like fire through the land, echoing in every corner of Umuez. When Adhama stepped out again, the rain had stopped, but the air sparkled with life. The people bowed as she passed. The dawn of the Iriji festival, the festival of New Yam, came with a kind of brightness Umueze had not seen in years. The sky glowed gold, the trees seemed to whisper blessings, and the river of Ani shimmered like liquid glass. The famine was over, and for the first time since memory, peace sat upon the land like a dove. But this year's festival was unlike any before. Word had spread beyond Umuiza to the hills of NRI, to the markets of Ower, to the valleys of Nsuka that something divine was happening in Umuize. Chiefs, elders, and priestesses from faraway lands came bearing gifts of kola, cowries, and coral beads. They came to witness the woman the gods had chosen, the slave who brought rain. The palace courtyard was filled with people. Drums rolled like thunder, flutes sang softly, and the air smelled of roasted yam and palm oil. In the middle of the crowd stood Adhama, dressed in pure white, her hair woven with cowrie shells that gleamed like moonlight. Around her neck hung a single golden pendant, shaped like a drop of water, the sacred symbol of the river goddess. Ezemiri. The oracle of Ani stepped forward, his staff glowing faintly. He raised his hands, and silence fell across the gathering. "Children of the soil," he began. "Today the gods call upon us to witness justice, not the justice of men, but of heaven itself. For generations, this land has bowed to blood and birthright. But the gods have chosen purity over pride." He turned to the king, whose once bold eyes were now soft with humility. "Eze Umueze, do you acknowledge the will of the gods?" The king rose slowly, the weight of years heavy on his shoulders. He looked at Adhama, the girl he once condemned, and tears filled his eyes. "I do," he said quietly. "The gods have humbled me, and through this woman they have healed my land. I, Eze Chukwuma, abdicate the throne of Umuezi. Let she, who was despised, be crowned queen." A murmur swept through the crowd, gasps, tears, shouts of joy. The Queen Mother bowed deeply, her face wet with tears. The Prince Obinna stood beside Adhama, his eyes filled with pride and love. The oracle lifted the sacred crown, carved from ancient ivory and set with river pearls. "Adhama, daughter of destiny," he intoned, "you were once chained in shame, yet your spirit remained unbroken. The gods saw in you what men refused to see, a queen born not of blood, but of purity. Kneel, child of Eze Miri." Adhama knelt, the earth cool beneath her knees. The oracle placed the crown gently upon her head, and the crowd erupted in a chant that shook the heavens. "Eze Miri, Eze Miri, the queen of the river." Thunder rolled in the distance, and a soft rain began to fall, a gentle blessing from the heavens. Then the prince stepped forward, holding her hand. "Before gods and men," he said, "I, Obina, son of Chukwuma, take Adhama, once a servant, now a queen, as my wife, my equal, and my heart." The river priestess approached, her white robes glistening. She poured sacred water over their joined hands. "As river meets sea, so shall your spirits flow as one. May your union bring peace to Umuez and beyond." The drums beat louder as the people danced, tears and laughter mingling. Later that evening, a blacksmith entered the courtyard with Adhama's old iron chains. He bowed before the queen. "My queen, what shall we do with the relics of your bondage?" Adhama looked at the chains for a long moment, then smiled gently. "Melt them," she said. "Let what once bound me now serve as the symbol of freedom." And so the blacksmith melted the chains and reforged them into the handles of her royal staff. When she lifted it before the crowd, the light of the fire reflected in her eyes like stars. She raised her voice so all could hear. "From this day forth," she declared, "no soul shall be owned by another in Umuez. The time of bondage is over. Every man and woman shall rise with dignity as the earth intended." The crowd roared in joy. Old servants fell to their knees, weeping and praising the gods. Mothers lifted their children high, shouting, "Behold the queen who turned chains into glory." That night, as the moon rose silver above the palace, Adhama and Obina stood hand in hand on the royal balcony. Below them, songs of freedom echoed through the valley. The king and queen mother watched in peace, knowing that their son and the once rejected girl had rewritten the destiny of Umuez. The rain continued softly, not the rain of storms, but the gentle kind that makes things grow. Moral of the story: greatness is not born from titles, but from the strength to endure pain without losing kindness. The one the world rejects may be the very one the gods have chosen.